Okay, guys, welcome again to another episode of the Dietitian Against Diets. I'm excited to talk about this guy named Nick Speed. He is the owner of Ujima, which is a nonprofit organization. They have a unique concept, and it actually lines up with some of my people that I partner with right now, especially with one of my podcast partners, Custom Foodscaping. Along with Nick, this organization is really built off how can we recreate our spaces as far as our backyards, the space around our businesses, and how can we convert those pretty flowers and gardens that we love to see into something that's actually edible, but it's still beautiful and it's pleasant to see. And the whole idea behind custom foodscaping is just how can you recreate your space to create more sustainability, to create your own garden. They are really big on helping you do that by having classes. They'll come to your house and consult as what your space can look like. They'll teach you how to do it yourself so that you can get comfortable and find ways you can best, serve yourself and still make keep your house looking beautiful. Find them and find about all different workshops that they're actually hosting right now at www.customfoodscaping.com or find them on Instagram at Custom Foodscaping. As I always do, I'm going to give you a 5-minute moment, and they're called Play to Win moments, because as you know, I have a book called Play to Win Your Food Fight, which is based on giving you strategic and well thought out ways to overcome your negative relationship with food or the struggles you have with food. And each week there's a topic. So this particular topic is, a lot of times when we think about healthy eating, we think that's going to be another level of stress that comes along with it. And it's actually the opposite. Let me tell you why. Because we get all wound up. We get wound up in counting calories or making sure we have to be perfect, or making, just because we one day forgot our snacks or forgot our certain meals, we let that stress that kind of build up on top of the stress we already have. And so we feel like, to eat healthy takes so much. I got to think too much. I got to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I just want to live life and still be able to live a healthy life. Well, it kind of doesn't go that way, but you have to rearrange the way you think, because when you're actually having your food in position, you have your snacks with you, you have your fruit, you have your snacks with your meals, and you have that ready to go in combination with your busy day, it actually lessens the stress, because that's one thing that's already built, has structure around it, that you don't have to worry about. So does that mean there are going to be days that you forget your lunch or you forget your snacks? Yes, that happens, but that doesn't mean it's just going to add to your stress. Actually, when you don't bring in healthy habits and bring in healthy ways of eating and just healthy foods, it actually adds to the stress that you already have, because you feel stressed and then you bring in foods because you're not thinking it through, or you don't want to think about it, or just maybe more easier, convenient to just grab something really quick. And then when you have that, it may relieve stress for like 2 to 3 seconds, but as soon as that time comes and goes, you're feeling with that, you have that guilt feeling. You feel like things are coming out of whack now. You feel like you just messed up the whole entire day. Like we've had those episodes, we told ourselves, I just can't get this right. So it just adds another level of stress. So actually not eating healthy creates more stress. One thing about stress, and I say this to many people and I say it to you, like stress comes and then stress goes. So every single time stress comes, if our answer is to bring on something that's going to cause more stress, i.e. unhealthy foods, which means we think bad about it, it makes unhealthy thoughts, then we're always left with this piece of like unhappiness right in the midst of that stress. So when it comes to stress, like no stress is going to come and stress is going to go. So how can you couple that moment of stress with something that's going to be stressless and try to neutralize it? Because you don't want to be left with this handful of just guilty thoughts, guilty feelings, feeling like you're not moving forward, you're spinning your wheels. We have told ourselves these same scenarios and stories all the time. So when it comes to eating healthy, find a way to use it in a way that's going to take away your stress. So keep it simple. Have your snacks with you, have your nuts with you, have your popcorn with you, have your pretzels with you. If you forget your lunch, have a default plan. Have a place where you can go grab something. Or if for some reason that just didn't work out, don't let that just bottle out your day. You can always pick it back up by bringing in a healthy dinner, starting the day again with a healthy breakfast. Like the day doesn't have to fall apart because of one mistake. So as you're moving forward on your healthy journey, your nutrition journey, you realize that healthy eating really takes away the stress. So how can you implement something easy, simple in your life that You're going to work through the different ups and downs of life and its stresses, but your food don't always have to follow in tow. So take that nugget with you, figure out what works for you, but also remember that it does not have to be complicated. Make it simple. Take away the stress that you don't need. We can't control the stress we get. You know, people bring stress to our lives or situations. We can't control that, but we can control how we bring the stress to, when it comes to our foods. So take a rein on that, and you'll find that when you choose to see that food can be healthy, food can happen with less stress, it'll actually make your day a lot more smoother than what it has been in the past. So take that with you and keep moving forward with your nutrition. Okay, welcome to another episode of the Dietitian Against Diets. I am your host, Rashonda Thornton. As always, I'm bringing interesting and dynamic guests to the stage, talk about wellness, talk about what they do and why they do what they do. So I'm happy to introduce you to my guest, Nick Speed. He is the owner of Ujima, which is a nonprofit organization with a kind of unique service, a kind of pay what you can when it comes to their meal plans, their service that they do as far as access to food. They all about education, especially in the agricultural spectrum. They also provide programs or education as far as like how to for employment and other things like that. So what I like about Ujima is that they have a multitude of what they do as their organization, and they find a way not just to create short-term changes, but long-term changes. So that to me is what sticks out. So I want to just say welcome, Nick, today to the podcast show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Rashonda. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know what, Nick? I will say how I met you. I literally, birds of a feather flock together, and I went to an event that was all about agriculture and sustainability, and I saw your table there, and you had a very unique name for your company, and I was just intrigued at not only what it stood for, but really what's the why reason behind it. So you are the founder, the owner. So before we get into your company, it's always important to know, like, how did it even come to fruition? Did it come from something personal, or was it just kind of a mishap? Like, how did that even kind of roll out as far as you and your connection to your company?
Yeah, so I think for me, it started doing AmeriCorps. So I did a three-year AmeriCorps stint. I did 2 years at the United Way, working with high school and college students. We did professional development workshops, and it was really cool, and we engaged them in community service. And then I switched gears completely and did an AmeriCorps term at Earth Dance Organic Farm School in Ferguson. And so that was an amazing experience. I had never really worked on a farm or major garden in any capacity outside of like helping my grandma move mulch in the backyard. And so, yeah, that was a really amazing experience. And I was primarily in charge of doing farm tours, but my favorite part was actually doing field trips with kids. And so getting an opportunity for them to, one, see this Black man giving them a tour of an organic farm, I thought was amazing. But then also like eating things straight out of the ground and showing them different types of organic farming principles, things that they often didn't have access to, especially in the Ferguson Florissant school district. And so I really wanted to continue that work. And so I did a 2.5-year stint at Gateway Greening, which is an urban ag nonprofit here. And so I did direct education with pre-K through 5th grade in St. Louis Public Schools. And so that was really cool. And so I found that there was more that I could do, and I also realized that there was a ceiling with me being in the educator role. And so I wanted to create an organization that really combined my passions of youth education and empowerment, taking care of the planet, and food justice. And so instead of complaining about what I wanted to exist in St. Louis, I kind of took it upon myself to be the change that I wanted to see in the world. So, yeah, it took a while to restart and figure things out. But, yeah, I think I found my lane.
And you know what? When you find that lane, it's like one of the best feelings, because it takes a while to figure out like which lane you should be in, because you try to like mimic other people's lane, but you got to really realize you create your own lane. But once you really figure out what it is, you kind of like dial it in, and then you just start building out. It just makes it more clear. But it had to start somewhere, and I think that's kind of like how change happens. Like you just pretty much been in fruition of what it is to have or learn something, be exposed to something, and learn that you find that you enjoy this, but you also find a way, how can I bringing this to attention to other people that probably have no idea, there's no connection to this piece of information and where they're at. And just like yourself, how can you duplicate that across generations, especially younger generations, to help them to have a love and a respect for the land and not be scared of the land and be able to want to connect with the land out and understand where food comes from. And I just think that's a big thing. And the fact there are the companies that you have, organizations you work with, those are really reputable organizations in St. Louis. So it says a lot about diversity of like how you put your hands in some of these organizations and kind of how Ujima grew out of it. So even with that being said, where did the name come from, and like just how did you decide like these are going to be your pillars within the organization?
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, my grandma was adamant that we learned about Black history, learned about Black culture. And so while we celebrated Christmas, she also made it a priority that we also celebrated Kwanzaa. And so one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa is Ujima. And it's a Swahili word that means collective work and responsibility. And so when I was in the process of creating this organization, when I think about things like white supremacy, food apartheid areas, poverty, the really painful things that exist in our society, in order for us to overcome those things, it's going to take a collective of individuals that believe in something bigger than themselves and have, a responsibility to not just themselves and their immediate family, but to the community, especially marginalized communities. And so, it was one that I felt really made sense with our mission and vision and what we're trying to do. And so, I just kind of roll with it.
Nice. No, that's the meaning behind. It's always that why behind what you do, and then you just build like this small community around that why. And like you said, that's how you roll things out. And I didn't know like that's where the word comes from, but that just gives more depth as to like, okay, what's this organization's all about, Now I know it seems like education is like one of your biggest parts of it. Now, give me like, because you also have educate, because when we first talked, this is what I got from you when we first talked, that made your organization stick out was because of the how you have it to where basically pay what you can type of service. And that breaks the barrier down because you want to have people to have accessibility to any sort of type of resource, not be worried about the financial piece. There's also a yoga studio called The Collective here in St. Louis, and they have the same concept. Like it's a Black-owned yoga studio, and you pay what you think you owe or what you think the value of it is, and that takes a lot of people to kind of go in there and be able to feel free from not having to be subjected to a certain amount. And when they can, they do. And you're also looking at a community sense, right? When you're having a community environment, everyone's not going to be able to pay the same amount. Some people, if you can pay more, how can you use your resources to help others? So I feel like that's kind of the concept around it. But like to me, I like that you guys have kind of broken down the barriers of like accessibility of food is not going to be based on the price. Kind of like what can a person afford?
For sure. Yeah. And so, I was very much inspired by other folks across the country who have been doing similar work. So in Denver, there's a cafe called So All May Eat Cafe. And the original founders were actually from St. Louis. And I got a chance to visit there back in 2015. Okay. And they have a simple menu. It's usually some type of pizza, soup, salad combination. And then they usually have some type of beverage. But with their menu, there is no price attached to it. And so the customer can literally set the price of their entree. And, if for whatever reason you're in an emergency situation, you can volunteer for 30 minutes in exchange for your meal. Okay. And so when I visited there back, 2015, and I got a chance to volunteer, I was just like, whoa, like this is amazing. Like there are very few places in this country that are not heavily affected by economic class and status. And so to be able to come to a place in which you can have a meal with community, and it doesn't matter where you are in life, whether you're experiencing homelessness or you work at Wells Fargo, you can come and have a meal and feel good about yourself and the broader community. And so in 2018, we very much wanted to motto after So All May Eat Cafe.
Okay.
And so we did a bunch of pop-up dinner events with the help of Union Loafers Cafe and Bakery
Mm-hmm.
and Earthbound Beer on Cherokee. But then the pandemic hit. And so we lost our prep kitchen in Ferguson, and then we also lost the abilities to do those events. And so that really put a wrench in our plans. And so luckily through Gateway Greening, I was still managing these school gardens. And
Okay.
so I literally took the things that the students planted pre-pandemic and started donating to families of color. So since May, we've done monthly produce donations, and we've been able to work with 60 to 70 families of color here in St. Louis. And so, yeah, like a lot of folks, we've really had to adjust in the pandemic, but also we wanted to continue on with our mission and our vision of cultivating the community through food justice and youth empowerment and taking care of the planet. So, yeah, it's kind of coming full circle. And now that 2021 is right around the corner, we're really kind of going on this new path now, and so we're really excited. And yeah, I've been overwhelmed with the amount of support that we've gotten from the community thus far, and yeah, just super excited about the future.
I love that story, and I like that you guys have found a way to pivot, especially during these times, because I mean, everyone's having to, you're forced to pivot, but I think that's the beauty of like your passion still is there. It just shifted temporarily, but you also find that opens up a whole nother avenue in which ways you can serve. One of the things I wanted to ask you was when it comes to what I've learned, especially during this pandemic, a gentleman told me that this is what the thing is. It's not a food shortage. It's just a shortage to the ability of people to get food. You know, and so a lot of times, you know, when it comes to, you know, we have these food deserts, we have these places, we have these pockets where individuals are not eating healthy or getting access to health, or getting healthy food is because the accessibility is not there. And so the fact that you guys have just kind of pivot everything that you've been doing, and find, you know, it just fall into place in a positive way where you have accessibility to these gardens. Now you can allocate that to those families that are in need. With things going away, with things continue on a continuum, unfortunately with the pandemic, where are some other like programming or ways that you guys are finding it to keep that community cultivated, to keep people aware and keep it educated, and still have the accessibility to where they can still have good, healthy, nutritious food?
For sure. So we're continuing to do our monthly donations. And so we are limited in what we can grow at the school gardens just because it's pretty much all outdoors. And so partnering with Earth Dance, so we've been able to get some excess donations from them so we can continue our donations to families throughout the year. And so that's been great. And then I'm partnering with a local Chef Nico Shumpert, to not only launch a SALSA, but we're also working on launching a youth apprenticeship program that will run alongside these value-added products.
Now, real quick question.
And so,
real quick question. Now, was this SALSA project even thought about prior to the COVID? Or was it they kind of got birthed out of it? Or just kind of...
I would say a combination. Because it was always a goal of ours as an organization to create an apprenticeship program for youth.
Okay.
But I think pivoting towards the value-added products and the SALSA was definitely influenced by the pandemic, because we realized that pursuing a food truck might not be the best idea in a pandemic, and so utilizing commercial kitchen spaces that were already in existence, and then coming up with partnerships in which we can produce products that we can get to people in a safe and accessible way, was just, a pathway forward for us in terms of sustainability. And so, just me being an educator, I wanted to tie it back to the kids and give opportunities for them to learn about culinary, learn about urban agriculture, learn about our ancestors who really set the blueprint for us to do this. And then also learning about entrepreneurship to where they can get a job after this apprenticeship program is over, or start their own food business if that's what they're passionate about.
Yeah. So within this, it seems like, you know, you're always still reconnected back to the kids. And I feel like the kids sometimes just are like, it's a soil, or we're the soil that's planting the seeds for this new garden of the way we take care of our earth, the way that we take care of our bodies, it grows from. So it's like you're really big and investing into the youth. And I think that's great. And so with this SALSA project, with this youth training project, like I know that you have it's starting in March, right? That's when the training started. Okay, kind of give us like who are the ideal people, like how, or who are the ones that you have found to be great candidates for this program, and kind of what are they to expect, in the process of it, and kind of, what are they to look forward to once they get out.
For sure. So luckily, I've been able to work with a group of Normandy High School students. My last project at Gateway Greening, I basically did a pilot food justice summer program. And so we took a lot from the text Farming While Black by Leah Pearman. And so we talked about a lot of the history of discrimination and oppression that marginalized communities have faced within American agriculture. And then we also got a chance to give each of those students the ability to grow things at home. So they had salad greens, they had radishes, marigolds that they can grow in container pots at home. And then for a service project, to wrap it up, we basically created a service learning project in which we made sandwiches for the St. Patrick's Center. And so donated those meals to folks experiencing homelessness. And so a lot of the components of that program will very much be reflected in this youth apprenticeship. So we want to make sure that they're compensated for their time. So it is our goal to pay them actually $20 an hour for their experience. But with that being paid $20 an hour, we also want to implement community service. So every hour that they get paid, they're also going to be expected to replicate an hour of community service. And so we really want to instill a sense of pride, and then also in their communities, but then also realizing that food justice is something that is an ongoing fight. And there are always folks who are in need, especially when it comes to access to fresh foods. And so realizing that, we can also play a part in helping restore our communities. And so really excited about this opportunity, because I really want them to get invested in culinary skills, get them invested in urban agriculture, especially in Missouri, because I think that there's a real significant career pathway in agriculture. When you think about, not just growing the food, but then packaging the products. And then we need the engineers to find out how can we grow things more efficiently. And then, the testing of these products that are in market, making sure it's safe for the community's consumption. So there's a whole world out there that I think we can expose these kids to. And just growing up, I really wish that I had something like this. I really wish that there was an organization that was invested in me and willing to teach these skills. I think it would have gotten me closer to my career path where I'm at now. And so, I really want to create an opportunity to invest in marginalized youth because they're ultimately the future. And we need them to get this society together.
Yeah, that's so true. And I mean, so much untapped potential that we had just not been able to, I guess, look at it in an equitable way. Like, it's just so much as far as our youth that it's so many ways we can, as adults, can instill back into our youth ways that kind of can help move things forward when it comes to our earth, And when it comes to the sustainability practices, I know that's like one of the biggest things. One thing I want to say real quick is I see a connection when, we're building out these programs that it creates awareness, creates education, creates confidence, and gives them another angle to they can just thrive in with their life, whether it's in career based or just learning how to garden for their health. I mean, like you said, like there wasn't any agricultural classes when I grew up. I grew up in Texas, so there's a lot of cow and cattle, so it was ag courses where you can take care of pigs and things, but never was one like about the earth. So guess what? I never appreciated anything. And that's how I think our world is, because kids think they get milk out of the refrigerator, not really from a dairy farm, or, when they get apples, they get it out of a bag at a grocery store and not really knowing where the apple tree is, and how to create one, how to grow one of their own. And I really feel like instilling these type of skills and interest into these young kids, it's not going to just turn them around as far as their ability to utilize this as a moving forward career, but it also helps them to connect their foods with their health. And they're surrounded by these new foods they create and grew on their own, which creates them knowing how to make their own salads, or wanting to plant more fruits and vegetables and eat it, because we're all connected to the ground, And for me as a dietitian, I think that's really huge, because if you don't really know all the work that's been done to creating any vegetable that you're eating, you won't have an appreciation for it. And I don't think sometimes people respect food. And as kids, if you're not teaching them how to respect food, you can't just say respect food. You have to show them the work that's being done to till that land, to plant that seed, to keep, nourishing that seed, to connect with what they're growing, and that's what they're connecting with what they're eating. How it just comes in full circle. I just think that's super great. And when you talk about sustainability, like I know that's one of your core values, is kind of the recycle, the reuse, reduce component of it when it comes to stewardship to the earth. So like, what are some ways within that have you been able to thread in the sustainability part of it?
Yeah, for sure. So at one of our school gardens, we have basically a native/rain garden. And so with the support of volunteers, we've been able to maintain that space. And just from casual observations, just seeing the different species of bees that are attracted to that particular spot has been really amazing. And also making sure that I maintain the composting system at both of the school gardens. Just because I think that's another opportunity to learn, but then also we're reducing food waste on top of that, food waste that can get turned into nutrients for our gardens. I'm also really big on vermicomposting. So basically using composting principles, but then adding worms to the mix. And so I have a worm tower at home that I use, and I collect the fertilizer that is produced from that, and I use it in our school gardens. Nice. And so, yeah, I very much try to just talk about the importance of taking care of the planet and how we should instill that in the next generation, because it's not like there's a backup planet that we can ship off to if things get too hectic. And so I think, yeah, for sure. And then I think the issue is even more important in impoverished areas, because oftentimes those areas are affected by environmental racism and just the dump of waste, and how waste is managed in those areas is horrible. And so just really creating more of a sense of urgency around taking care of our planet and the places that we live.
Yeah, that's so important. That part is true, and people sometimes they have no idea, And I think I'm glad that you're like finding ways to kind of shine light in multiple spaces, but it's all connecting back down to the earth and to our health, and to just teaching us how to do it ourselves, and not depending on something else or someone else or some system to suffice it. Because unfortunately, by just depending on something else, we have found ourselves in a tight fit, So I know you mentioned you've just recently had a campaign, and so. I know, but you also mentioned that that's just kind of one of your campaigns. You're also having something that you also are starting to put into play moving forward in 2021.
Yeah, so we did a GoFundMe campaign that just wrapped up on November the 4th. And so we raised $14,000, which was amazing.
Yeah.
We got support from all over the country. I even had some friends from Australia that donated.
Nice.
So yeah, it was really cool just to see that amount of support. And so now we are kind of switching gears, and then we're going to do a small campaign for Giving Tuesday on December the 1st.
Okay.
And then now that we have secured our 501c3 status, we can now apply for grants. And so
Congratulations.
getting the grant team together and
Great
starting to
stuff,
figure
man.
those things out. And so, yeah, definitely excited for the future, for
Yeah.
sure.
And Giving Tuesday, so give me a little bit of insight, because I mean, it's gonna come every week. So what is Giving Tuesday? What ways can people find ways to contribute, be a part of, and to give?
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned on our website, www.ujimaSTL.org, as well as our social media. So we're planning on doing another pop-up event. And as always, the menu will be pay what you can, and the fundraiser will go towards our launching of the SALSA next year, as well
Okay.
as our youth apprenticeship program. So stay tuned for that. It'll definitely be on December the 1st. And so, yeah, super excited. And then it'll give folks an opportunity to try some of our salsa too that we'll
Okay.
be releasing next year.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about that. I'm excited to hear about that. And it's gonna be like the kids are gonna be the ones that put it, with the help of the shelf, gonna be the one like just kind of curating those salsa tastes and the different varieties of salsa. That's, again, it's such a it's like a double-edged sword in a positive way. Like on both ends of it, it's serving something for greater good, but it's also serving something for the greater good on the other side. I just think you kind of came together with a nice collaboration where no one is left out. There's nothing is shortchanged, you know? I do have another question for you, because I know there are people out there that obviously this is a great mission and they're all about it. But you know, what is it about those people that, like, how do you help people to, like, even in their own little way? Because your message is really a symbol of how, showing a personal way that they can do it. But what if they're not in St. Louis, or they're, you know, not necessarily savvy on recycling or sustainability practices? What are some ways that someone can, you know, when you say stewardship to the land, what are some ways they could do it on their own, just like little things? And also, what ways can they do little things to minimize or to slow it down? Because always, you still got to figure out, sometimes we got to stop doing something, not necessarily just only do new things. What would be your advice for that?
I would say try to get connected with community gardens in your area. I think that's a cool way to not just learn, but then also connect with other members in the community who are like-minded. I would say don't be intimidated by the idea of growing things on your own for the first time. And I think doing something as small as taking some containers that you're growing, you know, some flowers that will attract pollinators. I think even that is a step in the right direction, something that's low stakes. And I tell people the good thing about growing things in a garden, you know, it's all one big science experiment. And if, you know, whatever you plant doesn't grow, plant some more seeds or get some seedlings, something that have already been started out, you know, and you can just easily transplant into a pot or whatever the case may be. Definitely not just learning more about soil, but I think taking steps to compost. There are, depending on where you live, there are typically some type of composting service that is available, usually something that's small scale, grassroots oriented. And even if it's, you know, taking your vegetable scraps and your fruit scraps and composting those and preventing those from going to the landfill, I think is a step in the right direction. And so, yeah, just being more conscious of the things that we purchase and looking at the packaging of the things and looking for goods that are in sustainable materials and shying away from things that are wrapped in plastic, I think are all steps in the right direction. And I think, yeah, these are just small ways that you
Yeah.
can improve things in our society. And I don't think you need to sell your home and live in one of those tiny homes and be like zero waste. I think that there are so many, like, you know, more manageable, tangible steps that you can take towards being environmental stewards of the planet.
Yeah, I love that, because when people think, how can you be a part of the sustainability component and helping your own personal way and on the macro level, it feels overwhelming and people's like, oh, it's just too much work. I just don't want to do this and that. When it can just be simple things. So I'm just glad you're saying things like, instead of getting plastic bags, get paper bags. Bring your own reusable bags. Buy glass bottles. I do that. Buy glass containers. Make sure you get paper straws. Make sure the packaging, like say, it is something decompostable. It's not like something that just tossed in the trash. Like, how are you going to, support those organizations too that sell those type of products or have the services that uses those products? Whenever I go to a restaurant, I see it, I'm like, yes, they get it. So it's like little by little, everyone do a little bit till they're comfortable, and then learn more, and then learn more. I mean, that's how change is going to happen. So those are great tips for people. Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to kind of wrap it up, unfortunately. But I know you just a few moments ago talked about your website, where people can find you. But I want to make sure, just in case they missed that part, it slipped. How are people going to be able to keep in contact with you guys? Even what if they want to be a part of your organization or help and volunteer in some type of way? Like, what is the best way someone can reach out and connect with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So we are on social media now. We're we definitely come a long way, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We even got a YouTube now.
Okay.
So we on all the platforms. We even got a LinkedIn. So we are definitely out there because we definitely want to just share what we're doing, and we're also interested in growing the team really at every level. So you can definitely reach out to us. You can email me personally at nick@ujimastl.org. And so, and then we also have a way to get in touch with us on our website. So if you just want to reach out about any opportunities, you can easily do that at ujimastl.org.
Yeah. So you basically, I get it. Like, you pretty much everywhere, and you have to start somewhere. So you are building that platform out so where anyone that's looking, type up the word, they type up St. Louis, like, they'll be able to find you guys and learn about you guys and, be a part of the movement. And I know, especially when COVID starts to we start to get a little bit more control of it, there'll be more things that you guys going to be able to do on a larger scale. So I just appreciate, you taking what you learn and turn it into something, like you say, you want to be the change that you see, see the change. How do you say it?
Be the change you want to see in the world.
There you go. Be the change you want to see. It's like, that's what I'm doing, but why can't I say it that way? No, I love what you guys stand for. I love the meaning behind it. And I love that you guys are able to utilize so many meaningful ways to educate people and help them be aware of different facets underneath the umbrella of Ujima. So keep going. I only hope the best for you guys. I definitely going to be a part of more things when you guys starting to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. Cause I know you guys stand for sustainability, healthy living, and to me, that's building a healthy community and healthy body. So I really appreciate you guys and all the things that you're doing. So
yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I say, Nick, you should know I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know it's been a long time coming, but hey, everything happens in its timing. So this is a great time for people to start honing in and get ready for 2021.
Awesome. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome, Nick. I will catch up with you soon. All right.
All right. You take care.
All right. Take care, guys. All right, guys. You heard what he said. Go to the website, check them out. See what they're all about and their why reason behind it, because they have some unique concepts. And I think there are a lot of people that don't even know about these organizations. How can you be a part of it? How can it be a service to you? And how can you find a way to be service to others? So check them out, look them up. And again, check out Dietitian Against Diet. Share this particular podcast, especially if you know some other people that would need some sustainability practices and just kind of learning all the different things that St. Louis is doing. Have them share it out to others. Keep moving that change in a positive direction. So again, Rashonda Thornton, the Dietitian Against Diets, not about the diet mentality, but how can we create and form a great relationship with food, which reflects a relationship with ourselves. See you guys next time. Okay, great conversations. As we're rolling out, I had to throw out a company out there that's been with me since day one. You hear me talk about it all the time. And it's the reason why I talk about it. Yes, we're partners, but I believe in their product. I have it on a regular basis. It's one of my favorite snacks that I have. It's called Banner Row Granola. And the reason why I like it, number one, it's clean. Every ingredient in there, I know the exact name. There's nothing in there that's tri-compound word. It's all simple language and it's all simple ingredients. Not only that, ingredients are organic. I know the chef personally, she is thoughtful in what the combinations and the flavors and spices she put together, because she wants to bring something that's just healthy and tastes good and give a whole different spin on what granola is. So I mean, there's spiciness to it, there's tanginess to it, there's chocolate mixed with these wild other flavors. That's even several ones that has spices in it only. So try them out. Go to the website at bannerroad.com. Find them on Instagram at Banner Road. See about to go to your online store. You can order, have it placed to your home, or you can do a store locator and find different areas where you find their product. Great product, very well worth it. BannerRoads.com. Okay, guys, see you next time.